Hello everyone, this is Dr. Tidman. Thank you for joining me and for checking out my YouTube channel. This is another one of my brief research reviews. This one is entitled The Role of the Ketogenic Diet in the Treatment of Neurological Diseases by Dyk'na et al. Thank you, and like and subscribe and hit notifications for my videos in the future so you won't miss one. I typically post about 2 per month. At the end of my videos, I always provide some practical applications to your daily life, so stay with me until the end. Again, welcome and thank you for viewing this research review. So the disclaimer is that this review of research is really for educational purposes. If you would like to make changes in your diet or your medications, please consult your own medical provider. They know you better. The objectives today are to review the elements of the research article by Dyk'na et al., discuss the variables that they investigated, review briefly some of the impacts of the ketogenic diet that they discussed, and then, of course, I'll end with some takeaways for daily life. So the authors in this analysis intended to review the available scientific evidence on the use of the ketogenic diet in treatment of neurological conditions. Some of the conditions they reviewed were epilepsy, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and migraines. I'll concentrate mainly on their review in Parkinson's disease. I will attach the link to the article in the description so you can read this article yourself. According to the authors, the influence of the ketogenic diet has been studied with the following effects reported in the research. The ketogenic diet is known to reduce inflammation and the amount and creation of something called reactive oxygen species, which are basically inflammatory molecules in the body. The research has shown that the ketogenic diet, or the creation of ketones in the blood, helps to restore the integrity of the myelin sheath in the neurons in the central nervous system. Myelin is responsible for coating the neurons. It's kind of like the covering on electrical wires that allows the electrical activity to be conducted more efficiently. We also know that the creation of ketones in the bloodstream with a ketogenic diet improves neuronal metabolism, so the natural metabolism of neurons in the central nervous system. Ketones provide an alternative source of energy for these neurons. Ketones also help in the reduction of glucose and insulin concentrations in the brain, as the brain actually prefers ketones for energy. And there is some research that indicates that the elevation of blood ketones and ketones in the brain may play a role in reducing the presence of the amyloid plaques that we often find in people with Parkinson's. The benefits that they discussed included increased autophagy, which is the removal of dead or damaged cells. It alleviates microglial activation, which means it restores a balance between the breakdown and the creation of neurons in the central nervous system. It can play a role in reducing excessive neuronal activity. You don't want your neurons to be hyper reactive. You don't want them to be hypo reactive. You want that balance to restore their function. Research has also found that the presence of ketones can modulate intestinal microbiota. And if you want to see and learn more about the gut microbiome, check out my YouTube channel. I have a video is entitled Probiotics and the Gut Microbiome. I describe a lot of the function of the gut microbiome in that video. And I also show you how to make a homemade probiotic fermented dairy. The presence of ketones can also reduce or enhance the expression of certain genes. So we want damaging genes to be turned off and beneficial genes to be turned on. And blood ketones can play a role in that. We have seen in research that the creation of ketones can also impact dopamine production. And in Parkinson's disease, we know that dopamine is a problem, especially when substantia nigra in the brain really stops producing the needed amounts or levels of dopamine. Ketones also play a role in increase in glutamine conversion to GABA. GABA is a neuronal relaxation molecule, which is also anti-inflammatory. So the authors discussed results of applying a ketogenic diet in Parkinson's disease. We know that ketones have a neuroprotective effect, and there's research being done by Dom D'Agostino's group that investigates the effect of beta hydroxybutyrate in the bloodstream, which is blood ketones, on protecting the brain from oxygen toxicity seizures, especially in astronauts and Navy SEALs. So we've talked about how the ketogenic diet can suppress inflammation in the body, and that ketone bodies can play a role in the potential of rebuilding new mitochondria in the cells. And we know mitochondria have many functions, but one of their functions is to create energy for the cell. We've talked a little bit about how ketones can potentially improve the production of dopamine. And some of the studies found that using your carbidopa or your synthetic dopamine medications together with a ketogenic diet can result in more favorable control of symptoms than just using the drug alone. So I did mention briefly that ketones can help the gut microbiome. And interestingly, as I was reading this article, they started talking about research by Tidman, and that's my research and my team, Dr. Dawn White and Dr. Tim White. And so it was really exciting to see that they referenced my 12-week study that showed a significant improvement on the Parkinson's anxiety scale, improvements in body mass index, waist circumference, C-reactive protein, which is a marker of whole body inflammation, hemoglobin A1C, fasting insulin, HDL cholesterol, and triglycerides. So if you want to see that 12-week study discussed, check out my YouTube channel. I actually did a brief research review on that 12-week study. Many research studies have shown that the ketogenic diet, through the production of blood ketones, yields better results in short-term memory and verbal fluency. And of course, many studies, not just in Parkinson's, have showed significant improvements in all health biomarkers. Specific to Parkinson's disease, there are some studies that have shown improvement in voice quality. So what are my final tips and takeaways? These are going to sound very familiar if you've watched other of my research reviews. So reduce your daily carbohydrate and sugar intake. to reduce insulin resistance, and to raise your blood ketones. Adopt a low-carb, healthy fat ketogenic diet, taking your carbohydrates down, and I would recommend in Parkinson's disease, taking them down to below 20 total grams of carbohydrates per day. Obtain a blood glucose and ketone meter. I recommend the Keto Mojo meter. It's very cost effective. Increase your daily intake of healthy fats and medium chain triglyceride oils. I'll talk about those in a minute to raise your blood ketone levels. Take out of your diet all processed foods in a box or a package, sugary drinks, juices, and other inflammatory substances like grains. The human body really doesn't need them. Begin a daily exercise regimen. Avoid the use of NSAIDs, ibuprofen and Aleve, and GERD medications. I talk a lot about their effects on the gut microbiome and your ability to absorb the nutrients in your diet. Add daily MCT or coconut oil from 3 to 5 tablespoons per day to raise your blood ketone levels. Another way to raise blood ketones is to institute intermittent fasting. This can be a 16-8 fast where you're only eating 2 meals a day in an 8-hour window and fasting for 16 hours. And then maybe once a month, try a 20-hour fast, which is 1 meal a day where you fast for 20 hours. Intermittent fasting significantly drops your blood glucose and increases your levels of blood ketones. Thank you again for viewing this brief research review. I will post the research article link in the description. I'll also post my 2 email addresses. melanietidman@gmail.com can be used to inquire about my research in osteoporosis and metabolic syndrome. And then the email to use if you're interested in more information on my Parkinson's research is study@coparkinson.org. Again, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. I hope to see you on future research review videos. Take care.